Ghost is one of the most iconic characters in Call of Duty history. He made his debut in the original Modern Warfare 2 and has since been a prominent figure in the rebooted Modern Warfare series that started with the 2019 Infinity Ward release. While not a lot is known about the Ghost character, his mask is one of the most recognizable images in the entire series, and he recently became a meme thanks to a humorous scene from Modern Warfare 2's campaign while he's staring at the player character while he's sitting in the car. Modern Warfare 2's campaign was pretty well received, and while some accused it of being a little bit on the slow side, I actually really liked that, and it kind of toned things back and made them feel a little bit more tense and personal. With the belief that being Modern Warfare 2 is going to be a 2-year game instead of following Call of Duty's usual yearly release cycle, many people have been wondering what's actually going to happen next year, especially since it will mark the 20th anniversary of the franchise. Up to this point, the main theory is that Activision will release a massive expansion for Modern Warfare 2, featuring a ton of multiplayer content and even a new campaign, which would be the first of the series. Given the ending of Modern Warfare 2's base campaign, I think it's safe to say that Infinity Ward intends on continuing it in the future, but according to a rather trusted leaker in the COD community, we may actually know who the campaign DLC will follow. Take this with a grain of salt as usual, since none of this is officially confirmed, but today we're going to talk about all the new leaks regarding the story of MW2's upcoming DLC and what it will mean for the game and franchise as a whole. We'll do our best to avoid spoilers for the Modern Warfare 2 campaign, but some things will be unavoidable, so just keep that in mind going forward. If you've already played Modern Warfare 2, then there's nothing to worry about, but if you're planning to go into the Modern Warfare 2 campaign without any spoilers, you might want to sit this one out. A trusted COD leaker known as Ralph's Valve recently wrote an exclusive for What If Gaming, where he claimed that Infinity Ward is currently working on an expansion for Modern Warfare 2. That would be a spin-off of the story starring none other than Ghost. The article claims that the campaign would dive into Ghost's physique and make him a little bit more three-dimensional as opposed to just being the cool guy with the skull mask. Before Modern Warfare 2's campaign released, Infinity Ward's head writer Brian Bloom said in an article with IGN that there are characters within the Modern Warfare universe that they would love to write stories about in order to expand their backstory, and while he didn't really name any specific characters, this leak would perfectly line up with the desires to keep pushing the narrative forward and keep things character driven. Ralph's Valve also claims that Infinity Ward is going to take an episodic approach to the campaign similar to the Dark Pictures anthology, although I'm not really sure how this would fit into the expansion pack. Do you buy the expansion pack and then the new campaign comes out in chunks after that, or do you buy the new campaign piece by piece after the big 2023 expansion drops? We've recently heard that Sledgehammer is actually the one working on the 2023 expansion pack, but I don't think this actually contradicts the reports. In previous COD games, different studios have been working on different parts of the games, so I have no trouble believing that Infinity Ward is handling the campaign aspects of MW2's DLC, while Sledgehammer is helping out with the multiplayer and Spec Ops modes. If you're feeling a little bit confused, I personally don't blame you. After all, it was just about a month ago that Activision claimed that 2023 would have a premium Call of Duty game, which seemed to go against everything we've heard about Modern Warfare 2 being a 2-year game, and it would obviously mean that this DLC pack likely wouldn't exist. However, the industry insiders almost immediately came out and said that Activision was being a little unclear because MW2 is indeed going to be a 2-year game. We knew that Activision was going to release something in 2023 because there is a lot of money to be made on Call of Duty every 12 months, and since COD turns 20 this year, there's no way Activision just sits the whole year out. According to industry insider Jason Schreier, who many people trust completely with things like this, state that the next Call of Duty release is going to be developed by Treyarch, and it's not due out until 2024. The premium COD coming out in 2023 is indeed going to be an expansion for Modern Warfare 2, but it's going to be absolutely massive, which is why they're referring to it as a full game. Jason claims that the expansion is going to be developed primarily by Sledgehammer, likely to allow Infinity Ward the time and space to start working on their next game, and it will likely have the same amount of content that you'd expect from a full-fledged COD release. This means the expansion is going to be absolutely massive, so obviously a new single-player campaign being included makes total sense. This also seems to be backed up by the stories about the DLC pack, including a whole ton of new multiplayer maps, and even possibly validates the people saying that every single classic Modern Warfare map is going to be added to MW2's core multiplayer. Granted, some people think it's just going to be every classic MW2 map, but hey, we could all dream, right? It would be pretty awesome if Activision decides to bring back every map from 2009's MW2 and its DLC and threw it into Modern Warfare 2's experience, but only time will tell if that's actually what's going on here. But with all of that said, what should you believe here? And what does this mean for the series as a whole? Call of Duty has never done a massive expansion like this, and the closest thing we've gotten to it was something like Zombies Chronicles for Black Ops 3. The jetpack era of COD was very strange, and it resulted in Black Ops 3 getting a lot more post-launch content than anyone expected. Right now, I personally think that BO3 is actually the most supported COD game in terms of post-launch content and release schedules. Heck, BO3 was even getting new content 2 years after its launch, but that was largely due to the financial disappointment of Infinite Warfare and the serious loss of of players that COD World War II experienced after its disastrous launch. Black Ops 3 was basically Activision's backup plan during that era of COD, which is a completely different situation from what we're looking at right now. Modern Warfare 2 was reportedly a 2-year game from the start, and Activision now has to figure out how to space out content and keep people interested for 24 months instead of the usual 12. There have been a ton of rumors that Activision was going to do something for the big 20th year of the series, including the remastered map pack for Modern Warfare 2 that included a ton of throwback maps for the multiplayer as a way to celebrate COD's legacy. There have also been some people saying we're going to be getting another remastered Call of Duty game in 2023 as a bit of a throwback, but I'm not quite sure I believe that, especially after the multiplayer was cut from the remastered version of 2009's Modern Warfare 2. These titles are getting so confusing, by the way. While I think it's still possible that Activision re-releases something like COD 1 or 2 as a throwback, any big anniversary celebration is likely going to happen within the established games instead of splitting the player base with a remaster or big budget re-release. I think it's much more likely that the 2023 COD release is just a big DLC with a ton of multiplayer and campaign content, and if that truly is the case, I absolutely believe that the story will focus on Ghost instead of the other main characters. By making the DLC a spin-off story about Ghost, they can add a lot of backstory to the universe without making the DLC a required purchase in order to understand the next big Modern Warfare game. They likely don't want the DLC to be a direct sequel to Modern Warfare 2's story, because that might throw off whatever they're working on right now for 2025 or 2026. A Ghost spin-off story seems a lot more logical from a business standpoint, and I think it's a great idea for expanding the rebooted COD universe. It's also worth noting that a lot of people may not be willing to fork over an extra $50 or $60 that this big expansion is going to be simply because of the game it's associated with. Modern Warfare 2 was an astronomical success, marking a new record for the Call of Duty franchise, but it's no secret that it's currently experiencing a very fast bleeding of the player base. While the core gameplay is solid and it looks amazing, the multiplayer just isn't clicking with a lot of the community so far, and a giant chunk of people already bailed. A similar thing happened to 2019 with Modern Warfare 1, so you would think that Infinity Ward was going to do their best to avoid this situation a second time, especially since this game needs to last twice as long. Unfortunately, that just doesn't seem to be the case. Modern Warfare 2 is still riddled with technical and progression problems, and on top of that, there are a lot of gameplay related things that the community seems to be a universal agreement upon, and yet Infinity Ward isn't taking their feedback into account. Footsteps are still way too loud, and the new perk system is unanimously hated. On top of that, the lack of traditional radar in hardcore mode, now called Tier 1, are really trying the community's patience with Modern Warfare 2, and the game is rapidly losing players. With every additional week that Infinity Ward doesn't fix the popular problems with Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer, another few thousand people call it quits. It's very hard to get accurate numbers since Modern Warfare 2 shares servers with Warzone, but before the Warzone launch, there was a steady decrease of players day by day, and it's pretty much common knowledge at this point that Warzone is the star of the show. Until Modern Warfare 2 gets some serious help on the multiplayer front, it's simply not going to maintain a healthy enough player base to support 2 years of content, and if that's the case, who is going to drop $50 or more for a massive expansion pack? There are plenty of people who would have bought the new Call of Duty game this year, but instead are just going to skip out on COD altogether in 2023 simply because they don't want more Modern Warfare 2 content. At the end of the day, Infinity Ward seriously needs to fix the issues with Modern Warfare 2's core gameplay and experience before they start getting us excited for a new DLC. While a lot of people are probably going to come back to the game just to see what the DLC has to offer, a lot of players will be long gone and wishing you just released a new experience instead. If nobody is playing Modern Warfare 2, there isn't going to be anybody around to buy the DLC, and the longer Infinity Ward takes to fix the issues with the core game, the more time they're giving the community to walk away from the game as a whole, which is going to do serious damage to the potential sales of next year's DLC. I think a story revolving around Ghost and really diving into his backstory would be really cool, and I'm eager to see the classic COD maps rebuilt with modern graphics, but until the gameplay is patched up, I can't really bring myself to get excited about it, and I know I'm not the only one alone here. Once the servers really start drying up, I'm sure Activision and Infinity Ward will fast track some of these changes and possibly even a full multiplayer overhaul like what we got with Call of Duty World War II. I just worry that it's not going to happen fast enough to make a difference. But yeah, guys, that's going to wrap it up with this video. Do me a favor, like it, subscribe to the channel with your notifications on, and until next time, this has been Wes, and I will talk to you guys again soon.